Okay, we'll move into the Boyd Forum. I have several cards. There's yellow cards like this. If you'd like to speak during the Boyd Forum, this would be to speak to issues that are not on our agenda. So if you want to speak to something that's not on our agenda, you can speak with this card right here. So if you haven't filled one out, you'd like to speak, please fill one out in the back of the room. And I'll have more yellow cards, so you'll be limited to 3 minutes, and I think we can get through all these unless we get a whole rush of more of those, and we'll deal with that once that happens. First name is Jerry Cooey. Mr. Cooey?
Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and it is certainly an honor to follow a man named Mr. Boyd to make these comments. I come before you today as a representative of the Florida's First Amendment Foundation, and that is regarding open government and transparency. I want the council to know that my comments are directed towards the mayor and his staff. Mr. Mayor, the people not only ask, but they expect a transparent government. This is the people's house. It's not your house. It's not your staff's house. This is the people's house. I will tell you that as mayor, you have broken the people's trust. You have rehired people that participated in very questionable emails. Your top employee assaulted Ms. Nichols over something that we now know was very apparent that needed to be looked into. You have participated in blocking the people's right to speak. Now we find that the doors are locked and the people can't even get in their house that they own. Your city council members can't get into the house that they represent. And now we have the issue of the firemen. I will tell you, Mr. Mayor, I don't know that I can be any more dismayed over something than I can over this situation. This is wrong. It's been handled horribly. There's no transparency, no reasons given. And on top of that, I find you lock out your city council members to boot. As an advocate of open government, they once told me that I would never get rid of the head of economic development, but she's no longer working there. They told me I'd never get rid of the economic development organization. They no longer participate in my government. And they also told me I would never have an impact on the Pensacola Chamber for their failure to follow the Sunshine Law. I hope that you will take note that the Pensacola Chamber is now in 4 different pieces and they are following the Sunshine Law. Let me assure you that if I need to start living on the locked floors at the City of Pensacola, I can do that. I will clear my calendar and make time for that. I want to say that, Mr. Mayor, no one ever remembers the first 2 times that I asked nicely. Today is the second time that I've asked nicely for this government of the City of Pensacola to be open and transparent. Remember, this is the second time I've asked. And I'm asking and I'm pleading that you, the mayor, take the time to make sure this government starts to be open. I don't know if you, Mr. Mayor, have looked around, but the people are angry. They're angry at a local level, they're angry at a state level, and they're angry at a national level. The time has come for you to work within this administration to make sure that this House is open to the people and that you make it as transparent as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooey. Ellison Bennett. Welcome.
Good afternoon. It gives me no great pleasure to come before you all again to ask that you return the assistant chief and the chief of the fire department back to work. It is shameful. 40+ days now, these men who have committed no criminal act is still on administrative leave. I have calls from Birmingham to Tampa say, Ellison, what is going on in Pensacola? I stand as a member of a national organization, the National Movement for Civil and Human Rights. We are in conference right now to file a $100 million lawsuit against the city of Pensacola, naming the Human Resource Director as someone who took upon himself to retaliate against a person who filed an EEOC complaint. And this is what all this about. The council members haven't addressed it. The mayor haven't addressed it. We as the citizens of this city is not going to stand by and watch these two loyal employees be railroaded. Please, I beg you, return these gentlemen to work.
Mr. Bennett, hold on just a second. Hold on. Councilwoman Myers.
Well, I just hate it when people come down here and talk to city council and get no response. But I can assure you that I am very concerned about this. When I tried to talk about transparency from the law firm of Biggs and Lane, what they were investigating, they basically told me if I wanted to know, I could make an open records request. And their lawyer's supposed to be representing the city and paid for by the taxpayers. That's how transparency works here. But thank you for being persistent.
Thank you.
One more. Councilman Wu?
Normally, I try not to say anything at this period, but under the old charter, the city manager did all the hiring and firing.
Yes, sir.
Under the new charter, the mayor does all the hiring and firing.
Yes, sir.
So when you come and speak and we don't respond to you, I don't want you to interpret that as lack of interest, lack of concern.
Yes, sir.
It's just basically something that we have no control over.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate you coming, but I didn't want you to leave with the impression that we were sitting here like logs and not saying anything.
As a former elected official, I served on the city council in Haines City. I understand the procedure.
Yes.
The mayor can return these gentlemen to work tonight if he chooses to do so.
Mr. Bennett, hold on. I want to say something. Councilwoman Myers wants to say another thing. I have to disagree with my colleague. Yes, the mayor does hire and fire people, but it is incumbent upon the council, the governing body of this city, to set the policies, procedures, the laws by which employees are treated.
Yes.
We have some bargaining unit employees, but ultimately, those that are not bargaining unit, we need to have a real say in that. And we're going to be talking about that hopefully later tonight in discussion item. Councilwoman Myers.
I just wanted to say that the city council is not powerless. We do have the power to investigate. We can investigate anything we want to investigate. And also, the people are not powerless. You do have the power to change your form of government.
Yes, ma'am. And we should do that by the vote. Thank you.
Hold one more. Councilwoman Cannon.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, for coming down. I have reviewed our human resources policies.
Yes,
we're going to talk about it later on, but I do think that there are some things that we can do as a council. Other cities have placed some policy issues in reference to human resources as ordinances and not as just regular policies. And so we're going to be trying to look at some of those things in the future. I do have some clarifications that I'm going to ask when we talk about that in reference to the position of the chief. If he was a full-time chief or was he an interim chief. Normally department heads or directors, we affirm them as city council members. So I think that is something that we can follow as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
If I can say, Mr. President.
Quickly, please.
I didn't come here tonight to try to embarrass the council. If you look at some of the issues that's been going on, the hangman's noose, the racial slurs, for years, and the way that these employees have been treated, it is shameful. Now, if it's the pleasure of the mayor or whoever want us to air these things out, we'll be more than happy to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Latia Reshling. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this chance to express myself. Eric Olson record the Melanie Nicholson case a month ago when he tried to get her fired at her job for speaking out against the tower. being put in her neighborhood. As a result of a vote, no confidence was taken, and I am disappointed it didn't pass. And now we are going through the same thing with two top leaders in the fire department, that you have tried to do the same thing to them as you do to Marilyn Nichols. As I see, if you try to get them fired, Fire Chief Matt Smitter has been with the fire department for more than 36 years. Deputy Fire Chief Joseph Glover has been with the fire department over 25 years. And from that, what I can find, they both have good records. I see this action that you have taken is deliberate, and because they filed a complaint with the EEOC. Here is how I see it. With so little information out there, I only come to this conclusion. You ask them to come to the city hall and ask them to surrender their keys and badges. And when they ask what they did, you had no answer. In my opinion, I believe it has to do with the systematic racism that exists in Pensacola. In my opinion, that the administration lead, you put them against these two leaders in our community is a direct result of them filing unfair wages practice with the EEOC. This is your attempt to shut them down. It is because you're afraid of what the EEOC investigator will find. The deputy fire chief Joseph Glover is totally qualified and the only reason he didn't get paid the same as the others whose job he took was because of the color of his skin. So you can conjure this bogus scheme and wouldn't give the public them the details because you didn't have anything. You need time to dig something up and see if you could throw it to the wall and hope it would stick. So you come with this. They conduct job interviews that didn't come along with the procedure. What about the other people involved with this procedure? Why were they put on the administrative leave? You takes the chief Spencer down with Deputy Governor because support Deputy Governor. To me, I see...
Ms. Wesley, thank you. Your time is up. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Marilyn Brown. Welcome, Ms. Brown.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Brown, and I live in Pebble Creek Court. I'd like to finish the statement that the previous lady was speaking. So you concocted the bogus scheme and wouldn't give the public the details because you didn't have anything. You needed time to dig something up and see if you could throw it to the wall and hope it would stick. So you came up with this. They conducted job interviews that didn't go along with procedures. What about the other people involved in this procedure? Why weren't they put on administrative leave? You're taking the Fire Chief Schmidt down with Deputy Glover because he supported Deputy Glover. To me, I see it as you saying, how dare you file this complaint? I'll show you, just like you tried to do with Melanie Nichols. Mr. Olson said it was a coincidence that changes were made to the city's Human Resources Manual regarding its administrative appeal process on the same day the firefighters were placed on leave, hours after Fire Chief Schmidt requested an administrative appeal. From what I have tried to find out, you, Mr. Olson, have the final say on the appeal process now. And now you're trying to sell it to the citizens of Pensacola that this was a coincidence? How stupid do you think the public is? This is your way of sending a message of intimidation that you better not question anything, or you can take down the top 2 people in the fire department. Then you think you can send a message to everyone else that they better think twice, because if they do speak out, you, Mr. Olson, will see to it that they lose their job. You seek to rule by intimidation and retaliation. And now you have warned city employees they could face disciplinary action should they speak out about the 2 city fire chiefs. Are you kidding me? Are you a Gestapo? Is this North Korea or is it America? Gag orders have no place here at all. I hope these firefighters sue the city and the truth comes out. You, Mr. Olson, are a disgrace to the city, and I'm asking for your resignation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Stephanie Mitchell?
Hello, my name is Stephanie Mitchell, and it's an honor to speak before all of you today. I am speaking for the firefighters. I feel like they have been humiliated to the fire department and their families. These people have been public servants for nearly all their lives, and within an instant they can get stripped of this title, and it's wrong. And we demand justice for the firefighters. They have served Pensacola for years and decades, and now they could just be stripped of their title because they wanted to find out about, wages. Is wrong. It's not right. And also, what is that telling the community? That's telling the community that if you work for the fire department, there's no justice, there's no equality, there's no due process. I mean, they have been humiliated through town. They go to church here, they have families here, they have kids, their kids, and everybody is being humiliated, and it's not right. It's not right. This is systematic injustice, and it needs to be stopped. It is not right what's happening to them. Firefighting, that has to be one of the most hardest jobs anybody could have next to being a police officer. And they sit there and they can have their whole lives taken away from them. That's not right. And we, the city of Pensacola, we demand justice because this is an injustice what's happening to them. It's not right what's happening to them. And I feel bad. I feel bad what's happening. These people have dedicated their whole lives. And now they're going to be humiliated around town, everywhere they go. Pensacola is not that big of a city. It's on the news, so everywhere they go, they're going to be known as, they're not in the firefighting business no more. And it's not right. And we just demand justice because this is racism at its finest. This is injustice at its finest. It is disgusting and it's deplorable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Dianne Kremel.
Gosh, I wish y'all would invest some money in the sound system in here. We can't hear. Half the time you guys are having conversations, we cannot hear. My name's Dianne Kremel. This so-called investigation into Fire Chief Schmidt and Deputy Fire Chief Joe Glover has now lasted for more than 40 days. So I have a question for you and city leadership. How many days has the city spent investigating reports of racial discrimination? Are the reports of racial discrimination not important to you? Whatever the chiefs are being accused of, it better be worse than race discrimination. If not, Ashton Hayward is going to have a lot of additional questions to answer. For one, if you oppose racism, why aren't the ones accused of racism on administrative leave? Well, the others who reported the racial discrimination they've been without their jobs for 44 days. Are you trying to intimidate all black employees the way it was done during the days of slavery or the way it was done in the 60s? I see this as pure intimidation. Are you trying to scare all the employees who witnessed discrimination into keeping silent? I believe this is exactly what you are doing. Eric Olson, you are behind all of this, and the mayor. It disgusts me to no end that just 2 weeks after the mayor and other city officials participated in Martin Luther King Parade, the very thing Dr. King died for, racial discrimination, that is happening right here in the city of Pensacola. What a bunch of hypocrites, the mayor and the other ones, out there waving and carrying on like they're all this and that. Are you kidding me? How embarrassing is that? Ashton Hayward, we are not stupid. We read and get your message loud and clear. This is what happens if you dare to stand up against racism. You'll be put on administrative leave or possibly be fired. That's what that so-called gag order is about, to intimidate people. Well, guess what, Eric Olson, Ed Sisson, and Ashton Hayward? There are a bunch of us, and you're talking to one of them right here, that don't work for the city, and we're not afraid of you. So you can't intimidate, retaliate, harass, or put me on administrative leave. You definitely can't put a gag order on me, although I know many of you wish you could. Eric Olson, you are a disgrace to Pensacola. And you are a disgrace that you were ever in the military. You have no honor and even less integrity. Ed Sisson, you are a spineless coward. Sooner or later, someone else is going to expose you as the so-called lying, sexist, racist city employees know you are. You have been warned about sexual harassment before. Ashton Hayward, what you do from here will tell us everything we need to know about what side of racism you are on. Stop trying to convince everybody that you're not a racist. Your actions far outspeak your words. It's time for the citizens to know the truth and restore the reputation of these two fine leaders, Fire Chief Schmidt and Deputy Fire Chief Joe Glover. Okay, City Council, it's time for you to get the facts, and we as citizens deserve to know what is going on. Even Channel 3 asked me the other day, did I know anything? It's not fair. It's not right.
Thank you, Ms. Kremel. And I should have stated, I guess, a little more clear. Let's try and refrain from attacking individuals in this forum, please. Vice President Spencer.
Yes, President Bear, I certainly know that the position that, and I definitely want everyone to hear, I know the position that you sit in is one that's tasked with difficult decisions, responsibility, and I would appreciate it if you could help administer the sort of tone in the chambers that you announced at the beginning of our meeting. And I definitely respect everyone's position, and passion is a trait that I am proud that a characteristic I have, but there comes a point where we've got to administer some level of civility.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Spencer. Cheryl Poister. Councilwoman Myers, did you?
Well,
hold on just one second.
I just wanted to say that I haven't noticed that anyone has caused a disruption of the meeting, and I believe that everyone has the First Amendment right to say what they've said tonight and in the manner in which they've said it. So that's what I feel very strongly about, and there's even one federal court case that says that clapping in a public forum is a form of speech protected by the First Amendment.
Thank you, Councilwoman Myers. Ms. Poister?
Thank you. Cheryl Poister, 1106 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, City of Pensacola. The prepared speech that I was going to give has been given, so I'm up here to speak impromptu and to tell you how important our rights as American citizens are, that these gentlemen, these firemen who protect us, who hold our lives in their hands, are entitled to due process, and I want to be sure they receive it. I want to see things in this city handled transparently and openly in all cases. And as far as intimidation goes, unacceptable, totally unacceptable behavior on the part of any kind of official. This is something all of us feel very passionate about and we really care about and we hope to see addressed and straightened up as soon as possible. I want to see these two gentlemen return to active duty immediately. I will feel much safer if that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poister. Barry Goodson.
Yeah, I kind of like what I got to say either. Hopefully I do get censored. I'm Barry Goodson, part of the military between the roughest times in our nation in the last 100 years, called the Vietnam War. I've been at military tribunals, and that is exactly what this gentleman over here thinks that he does as a city administrator. I've been to Article 15s, where the people that are in question for the Article 15 do not have a say, and that's what this man expects over here. Him and the human rights or human resource officer are the two determining factors of what is happening to our fine firefighters, who, by a combination of their time served for the city of Pensacola, is over a century, a half a century of service given without any disgrace, dishonor to the service that they've been providing. They've been in burning houses and pulled out people to save their lives, save the property that we all hold dear and we all work hard for. And you sit over there with this smug grin or this cowl, this look, you know, and then the guy next to you, I guess he's out doing his makeup because there are cameras here tonight, and of course, Ashton always likes to look good for the meetings. But you know, this is a disservice. 44 days and 44 nights, the gentlemen show up for work. Out of the blue, their keys are taken away from them. Their names are removed from the city directory website. Any reference to them is removed from the city directory website just because two gentlemen that are paid officials, when we should have at least one paid official and one citizen in any tribunal that is going on with the people that work here. The citizens are being left out, although we are paying for his wages, her wages, all of y'all's wages. So we should have a little bit more input than just our vote, because our vote apparently doesn't very well mean much except when it's time to vote. Just like Mayor Ashton Hayward. Where is he tonight? This is a very important decision that needs to be made by the city council. By you, Mr. Spencer, by you, Canada Wynn, by you, Mr. Wingate, by you, City Council President. Mrs. Myers, I know where you stand for the people. Mr. Wu, I know where you stand for the people. Andy DeHar, we never hear from you unless you're speaking up for the mayor. And county executive, council executive, how about doing some executive actions and getting a solution for this? This is just ridiculous. That's why the upside of Florida, Mayor Ashton Hayward changed our name to that, was the city of five flags. At least we got one of the racist flags away, but still we are the entrance to Florida. And here we have this kind of goings on, not only in the city council, but in the Escambia County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Goodson.
It's always about y'all and not about us and about employees. They're always thrown under the bus. Always. You read about it over and over. 40 days and the months before that is a long enough time to come up with the solution to put these people back in the proper respect that they deserve.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I hope you didn't find offense with that, Mr. Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Goodson. The last card is John Newton. Mr. Newton?
Thank you. I'm here to give you a history lesson. In 1969, a man came up and asked me would I take a test for the fire department, because he said that the personnel manager said that no blacks takes the test, and those that did take the test couldn't pass. So I said, okay, I'll take the test, although I have a good job at St. Regis. I took the test and came out number one on the list. Didn't think no more about it until I found out that they hired 12 people without even calling me in for an interview, which was against the civil service regulations. A friend of my father's, Chappie James, was in town, heard about it. He had some lawyers from Atlanta contact me. We gave the city notice that we were going to file a suit against the city. That evening, the fire chief called me and asked me could I come down for an interview. He said that he had promise an opening to somebody else, and he would give me the next opening. I said, fine, you're the chief. Next day, a lieutenant from the Highway Patrol came and offered me a job. Said the fire chief told me to come and see you. They didn't want any blacks on the fire department back then. B. James said the lawyers will be there. I'm paying for the attorney. The next day, the chief called me and said, when do you want to go to work? I spent 10 years at a station where I slept. I was the only one sleeping in that bed. I didn't have to take my linen off the bed at the end of each watch because nobody would sleep in my bed. Until one time I came to work and all the beds were out on the hose rack. I asked what was wrong. They said they had bed bugs. I said, well, why did y'all put my bed out there? Yours didn't have any bed bugs. After that, everybody wanted to sleep in my bed. Rusty Wells was the city attorney at that time. And when I got hurt on the job and went into inspections, I had a chief that said, don't worry, he in a private meeting, and I was in the next room and heard him, he said, he won't be there long. We never had, and I'll say blacks, because that's not the word he used. We never had any blacks in a white shirt in this department, and as long as I'm the chief, we won't have one. I told a friend of mine, John Lewis Albritton, an attorney, about it. We had a meeting with Rusty Wells and the city attorney, the city manager at that time, and the chief. After a few questions that Mr. Albritton asked the fire chief, Rusty Wells stood up and said, this meeting's over with. Chief, you can leave. The chief doesn't know what he's talking about. Came down to it, the chief ended up retiring at the end of the year, 2 months later. I know the time is out. I got one more item I want to tell you. Since I was there, 3 different chiefs had taken that job, and all of them, at a certain length of time, according to the civil service law, ended up getting paid a regular salary. I want to know why it didn't apply in this case. And one other thing, it's not what you say, it's what that judge says.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes our board forum, our first Monroe board forum.